Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DataCated show. My name is Kate Stashny. I'm the founder of DataCated, and I am the host of the DataCated show. Today, I am really excited to host two great individuals from DataRobot. We've got Prajakta and Justin, who I'll bring on in just a second. The topic that we're talking about today is all about closing the gaps in AI with DataRobot. Now, I know a lot of companies, a lot of individuals are focused on AI, on Gen AI, and I think it's a good time for us to address some of the gaps because although their excitement is there and the tools and technology are there as well, there are actual gaps that we need to address before we can start to get actual value and benefits from AI. As you're joining the session, this is very much live. We are all here. This is not pre-recorded. So we're here to take your questions. We're going to address your comments. So if you're joining us live, go ahead and use the chat feature in either LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter, or X, as it's now known. And we'll try to get through as many comments and questions as we can. So if you agree with something or disagree with something we're talking about, voice your opinion. And if you got a specific question, please put that in the chat. This is why we're here live. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring up Prajakta and Justin onto our virtual stage here. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me here. I'm really excited to chat with you both about how we actually close some of these gaps in AI. A good place for us to always start is quick intros. So tell me who you are, what do you do at DataRobot, and maybe tell us how long you've been there. Let's start with Prajakta.
All right. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. I'm Prajakta Damle. I lead the product team at DataRobot, and I have been at DataRobot just over 6 months.
Amazing. Nice. How about you, Justin?
Hey everyone, and thanks so much, Kate. I know we're both really excited to be on today with you. My name is Justin Swansburg. I am our VP of Applied AI and what we call our technical field leads. So I pretty much get the pleasure of serving as a bridge between all of the good work that Prajakta's team does and our clients, helping them to get all sorts of different AI-powered applications out into production. And I've been here actually for just about 8 years now.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. So I'd love to hear the experience, from you, Justin, 8 years, and the new fresh eyes from Prajakta. This is really cool. I recently saw you guys have rebranded. You've changed your colors. I'm trying to match your colors back there. This actually, my microphone just turned lime. Oh, now it's pink. It was lime green a second ago, I promise. And I think everything looks great. I know you also unleashed a new product, the Enterprise AI Suite, that I can't wait to hear about. But first, Prajakta, tell us about the new branding. What's going on there?
So we certainly have a new logo, a new look, fresh colors. I have some green on, but we have a much nicer, fresher green on our website. And a new branding and positioning. While our messaging and positioning is new, it really reflects what we have always done. With thousands of customers over a decade at this point, where we've helped customers address the three key gaps that we believe block them, or three key gaps that inhibit them from getting value out of their AI. And those are really around, the value gap, really seeing a business value from the AI, meeting their business goals with AI. The confidence gap, being able to deploy the AI, now Gen AI applications with confidence in production. And then finally, the expertise gap, as most AI projects involve a number of different roles and personas within an organization, number of teams. We've actually helped customers seamlessly collaborate and bring AI projects to life. And our new branding really speaks to all of those three.
Amazing. And I actually really like it. This lime green, just it's very catchy. I think the logo is great. I love it. It's all fantastic. Justin, maybe you could talk to us about the new enterprise AI suite, and sort of what can your customers, your existing customers, your future customers, what can they expect from this?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier, Kate, to share some of our perspective, or my perspective at least, on how DataRobot's evolved over the years. I think that's a helpful starting point because when I joined almost 8 years ago, we were really just introducing predictive AI and machine learning into the world. And it feels a lot like this now, or what it did 8 years ago today with generative AI. And I know a big push for us at DataRobot is helping clients to combine not just the predictive AI that everyone has known for a long time, but combining or blending that with generative AI into applications. So that's really been our end goal. And the whole release, this new product release that Prajakta mentioned, is really focused around helping people build these applications really quick in a highly governed and safe way. So we're almost starting from the end product, if you will, and reverse engineering what needs to get done to actually provide some value.
I love that. And it's so exciting to think, like, where are we going to be 8 years from now, right? What are we're going to say, well, 8 years ago, we were talking about agents and this AI stuff. And now I don't know what to even expect.
It's tough to know where we're going to be a week from now. So yes, I can't even imagine where we're going to be in 8 years.
That's true. I don't know where I'll be tomorrow. So this is a good point. And I know you guys, you put together a survey that was recently released. It's all about unmet AI needs. And I want to just get into that for a little bit. What were some of the discoveries in that survey that you conducted?
I'll let Prajakta kick us off, and then I can provide a little bit more color around what I'm hearing from our customer base as well.
Yeah, so I think we surveyed 700 plus AI leaders, AI builders. These were actually not DataRobot customers. So we really wanted to get a sense of like what are the unmet needs across the industry. And what we found is that most customers are struggling, or most AI builders and leaders are struggling to get their AI projects into production. And on average, it takes them 7+ months to bring a model from an experimentation perspective out of the experimentation and building phase and deploy that in any meaningful capacity in a production setting where their internal users, their business stakeholders, their external consumers can start interacting with this. And that is a really long time. We also heard a lot of pain around collaboration. And there's oftentimes many teams involved in bringing an AI project to production and embedding that into existing business processes and apps. And what we heard is that handover from one team to another, because of different skill sets, different tools that are being used, is really painful and oftentimes pretty fractured in most organizations. I don't know, Justin, what else stood out for you from the survey?
I think having reviewed all of the questions and answers, I would boil down the survey to just really one word, which is practicality. I think a lot of folks, in my opinion, era of experimentation is coming to an end, and folks are now wanting to see real, hard, concrete value. You've written the check, now let me cash it, so to speak. A lot of the responses have been around, great, there's no shortage of ideas out there, but there are a whole lot of steps to actually work through to get an idea into some type of tangible application, and then obviously business value as well. So most of the feedback was around more of the practical, what do I need to do next to actually make this a reality?
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned 700 professionals that took the survey. Okay, it's interesting because I think I go to a lot of these conferences and I have lots of these live discussions, and everyone is talking about very similar gaps, right? Justin, I think that one word, I love when we can summarize a whole survey into one word. It's always great. We got the 3 buckets, right, Prajakta? For the 3 gaps, we've got the value, confidence, and expertise gaps, and we can boil it down to just making sure that things are practical. Do you think that we're close to that practicality stage? And how's DataRobot helping people actually get there?
I think we're actually just starting. It's almost like the first or second inning, if we wanted to use a sports analogy. What I'm certainly sure of, though, is that now businesses are demanding it. I know that in the past, a lot of folks were experimenting with pilots and prototypes to see what is the art of the possible. And now folks have gotten to the point where they have landed on a use case. It appears to be valuable, but they need to actually see it through into production. And that's exactly where we want to help focus. What can we do? A type of collaboration, productivity, a lot of connecting the dots or wiring everything together. We want to provide that in as seamless a fashion as possible for folks so they can actually get to the point where end users are consuming these applications. That's where you actually drive value.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we have a question here from Mignon. I think she's read the survey, because this is getting into my next point here. I was going to say that in the survey, it said that it takes about 7.5 months for AI models to reach production, regardless of where they are on their AI maturity. So, and her question here is, how do we actually close that gap? How do we make it less than 7 months, maybe 6 months, 4 months, and 1 month maybe?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can kick off here and then I'll turn it over to Prajakta. What I really want to do is introduce a new concept that we just launched. We're calling it our AI application templates. The idea here is that there are so many use cases that we have experience actually delivering with our customers that are repeatable. They're not always the exact same, but they have a lot of similarities that we can leverage. So we actually have a gallery now of many of these tried and true use cases that we've deployed out into production that our customers can explore and then ultimately self-serve. It's almost like offering or ordering off of a menu. So you can review all the different application templates. These are turnkey, out-of-the-box solutions. Pick and choose which one makes the most sense for your business. And then all of the actual product development has focused around adapting that to your particular use case. And that's how you help accelerate these workflows from what normally would take 7 months down to something as short as just a few weeks, to be honest.
And, there is a lot of talk today in the industry about like AI applications. Everybody's talking about it, like agents, applications, co-pilots. I think what sets us apart and what we have done uniquely is you could think of what we are providing, if you have a spectrum where you could go to the grocery store and buy all the ingredients and, make up a recipe and cook your meal. You can order from a restaurant, which delivers fully prepared meals. What we are really doing is giving you the equivalent of HelloFresh, where we have, tried and tested recipes. We are giving you everything that you need to deploy an application, the AI logic, the security and observability guardrails and metrics, the application logic, all available as a template, as Justin said, but it's fully customizable. So you can add your own touches, you can customize the parts that are relevant to you and your businesses, integrated seamlessly into existing applications that you probably already have in your organization.
And Kate, that's actually, it's really important. So I want to just emphasize it again. Actually, a colleague of ours, an analogy I really like is that a bag of refrigerator parts isn't the same thing as a refrigerator. But what we're trying to do is really walk the line and balance the idea of customizability, where folks can actually adapt these use cases in a way that makes sense for their business versus accelerating the workflow. Because if you do everything manually from scratch and you need to reinvent the wheel every time, almost by definition, you can't go faster. So we want to provide a jumping off point or a template that they can leverage for a lot of the work that is repeatable, but then make sure it's still highly customizable so they can change, edit, and tweak what they actually need to.
Okay, I gotta say, I love the analogies from both of you. So you both are making me hungry equally. The HelloFresh, the fridge talk. It is around lunchtime here for me. So Prajakta, yeah, I love the HelloFresh analogy because it when we just have the ingredients along with the recipe, it is much easier. And Justin, the fridge thing, I think that's brilliant because by the time you put that thing together yourself and learn how to and hire the right individuals versus just having a fridge that's already made that you can just start using, I think it definitely helps along with that, cutting down on the time to production. But I think there are some companies and some individuals out there that even if time to production was a couple of days, they might still not do it because they have this confidence issue. And I know that came out in the survey as well, where some of these leaders that participated are not confident enough yet that the AI models are going to provide the right results in terms of accuracy or data quality or whatever other issues that might arise. So talk to us about how you're helping people increase their confidence in these models.
I'm smiling because I live this every day. So I'll kick us off here. I've seen with a lot of the customers that we work with before they've adopted DataRobot, they typically had a lot of success with these pilots. And to be honest, with Gen AI these days, it doesn't take a heck of a lot of effort to get a really quick and dirty prototype up, especially using some open source packages or third-party technologies like Llama Index and LangChain. And you can get a pretty compelling demo. But of course, part of that demo is exactly that. It is a pilot or a prototype. And there's a huge difference between actually rolling that out to production and expecting it to work well for every question versus the 2 or 3 questions that you cherry picked beforehand, which is where confidence and governance comes in. So if you don't have a system in place where you can actually review and audit and add these security guardrails around that production pipeline, it's really hard to catch errors. And I think the cost of some of these false positives and false negatives is even larger. In fact, Kate, when we were backstage, we were talking about exactly that. It's almost like we've raised the stakes a bit. And so we want to be really careful of these extra costly errors. So just expecting that you can turn on the switch and go from something that was a prototype scale to production is really difficult to do, especially without technology to help with the governance side of the house.
Right.
And just to add to that, I think there's a part of it is just, having confidence in the model and the sort of the design that you've put together and having the right sort of monitoring and guards around it. But I think as AI leaders, CIOs, CDOs, they're also very concerned about the reputational risk now with Gen AI, because a lot of these applications are going to be end customer facing. And with Gen AI, there isn't a established standard yet in terms of compliance tests and benchmarking. And that's what we have actually invested in pretty heavily and made available, not only when your application is ready to be deployed into production, but while it's being built, where you can test out some of these real world scenarios, do red teaming as part of your development process before deploying this application in production. And then another aspect is that there are all these regulations around the world that are fast evolving and coming to life. And that's another thing where, as AI leaders, you really need to be aware of these and keep up to date with these. And your AI projects need to ensure that they have the right auditability, the right compliance documentation in place before you're able to really put this in production.
Yeah, Prajakta, just a follow-up question on the regulatory aspect. Do you think as we get more regulations in place, do you think that's going to help increase the confidence from the business leaders that, okay, like now we're following the rules? Kind of back to our food analogy, if it's FDA or USDA approved, we tend to trust it a little bit more. What do you think?
I think it's good overall to have a little more sort of regulatory oversight or like governance around these things. I don't know if that'll necessarily translate into like the leaders automatically trusting them. I think they would still need, both the processes and the tools that'll help them along the way. But I don't know, Justin, what do you think?
No, I think that's right. There are different types of issues or risks. There are regulatory risks, which is what you're mentioning, and then there are certain failure modes that are specific to the actual language models. So having more concrete guidelines will certainly help from the regulatory point of view. Some clients and enterprises are a little bit wary. They're treading lightly now because it's not super clear what the rules and regulations are, and it's tough to sort of parse out the meaning behind some of these acts that were released, like the EU Act and the Singaporean Act. And I know even here in the States, we introduced some guidelines as well. So trying to understand what that means for your use case is difficult, and it will certainly help from there. But again, Gen AI is different. I like to talk about different types of failure modes. So it's introduced an entirely different type of failure, since a lot of these systems are non-deterministic, meaning there's some degree of randomness, and you need to get comfortable with all the different ways that they can fail in production. So you set up specific guardrails to catch those failures. It's not like most software development.
Yeah. And I think that's where the confidence comes in, right? People hear the word potential various different failures. They're like, oh no, things can fail. But things can fail right now too. Like, it's not like that's not an issue without AI. So just wanted to follow on the guardrails and governance piece. So I know we mentioned that it takes about 7.5 months to get a model into production. How much of that time is spent on getting those guardrails up and focus on governance and policies?
In my experience, that is still been a missing piece. It's something that folks only learn about once they move to production, and then it becomes a really big problem. So what we're trying to encourage, especially with the DataRobot platform, is to get people thinking about that earlier. Really, it should be the last step before you deploy, not the first step after you deploy. It's a big part of how you would actually craft the systems. So in the actual DataRobot platform, you can collect data on all the different answers, the quality, the issues, and then custom tune a lot of these guardrails so they actually catch the errors and issues you expect them to before you deploy the whole system out into production. And that's critical.
Okay.
And
yeah. Go ahead.
I think I think governance is not responsibility of a particular function or a particular team in an organization. What we are doing is we are providing the tools across the AI lifecycle to make it easy, automated for somebody to take advantage of the capabilities that we have built into the platform to be able to do those tests, as Justin was mentioning early on, to add the right guard models and metrics, to get compliance documentation automatically created for both predictive and generative use cases. So we are making technology accessible to different personas so that it's not necessarily, done as an afterthought or added on after the project is deployed to production.
I love that. You just led me right into my next question. You said technology access for different persona, and it gets me thinking right away about skills and the ability and capability to actually leverage some of these capabilities that AI is providing us. So I know there were some gaps highlighted in your survey. So let's talk about some of these skills gaps, and then how is DataRobot helping address some of those gaps?
I can kick us off here too. I think a big thing for me is really the collaboration. There are so many different teams responsible for coming together to produce one of these systems, and not all of those individuals have the data science or the software engineering backgrounds that they need. But importantly, they often have that critical domain expertise or the ability to vet the answers that other folks won't. So one thing that we're trying to do is provide a single interface where everyone can come together and actually collaborate. So a single pane of glass, so to speak, and then you can combine all those different skill sets and experiences. And it's especially important with Gen AI as well, because the best way to figure out how resistant or resilient, the system is to actually test it and then annotate or provide labeled feedback on how well it answered your questions. So it really requires this volleying back and forth between folks that are more code first and have the data science expertise and experience, and then folks pull in from the line of business where you're working closely with to solve a particular problem.
And this is where our platform really caters to different needs and meets our customers, especially the builders, where they are, whether you're a data scientist, whether you're a business user. And now with Gen AI, we are actually seeing a lot of software developers being part of that Gen AI application building process. And if you look at our application templates, they have DevOps integrated into them. And they really are catered to software engineers being able to take those templates, customize them, and deploy these applications into production. So we have not only thought about the preferences and different skill sets, we have also thought through the handovers between these personas and teams as you go through different stages of the AI lifecycle.
And Kate, those numbers, they're really critical. I just want to emphasize that as well. In the past, you always have these silos. So you can imagine an idea originating in a line of business, and you somehow communicate the solution. You almost throw it over a wall to the data science team. They'd be responsible for developing a prototype. They might throw it over the wall again to the IT team that's responsible for the DevOps and the actual productionalization, who'd then throw it back over the wall yet again to figure out the observability. So what we're trying to do is bring everyone, all the different stakeholders together in the same room, which is really going to help. And obviously there's the potential for a loss of information every time you have a handshake or handover. So we want to work to eliminate that entirely.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a very visual person. So when people start describing things, I'm picturing it all. But still on the skills, just a quick question for those listening that are maybe developing their skills right now. Let's say they're transitioning into the data science, AI sector, or they're just students studying this field. What skills do you think they need to learn right now in order to be in the best position in the next year or two with all of these advancements?
There's really, in my mind, no substitute for just using AI, especially Gen AI. If you're getting started, try everything. Get your hands on all the new technology. Folks are building assistants and chatbots and RAG pipelines. Try all of it. It's really, like I mentioned earlier, the barrier to entry is a lot lower to get a prototype working. And you'd be amazed at how quickly you actually run into a roadblock and figure out what some of the issues are. And then, of course, my best advice is if you hit a roadblock, the best way to actually overcome it is to leverage even more Gen AI.
This is a great time actually to be learning or, building the right skill sets. There's so much happening in terms of, the tools and capabilities coming out in the market, but then also the community support that we're seeing across the board. So, reach out to folks. People are more than willing to help you unblock yourself if you're building out a use case. We are happy to chat with anybody who is looking to try it out as well. Give us a shout out. We'll be happy to work with you.
I do think it's easier now than ever to have an idea or a vision and then actually bring it to life. So a lot of the clients that we work with that don't have a lot of the traditional skills that you would have needed to build these production grade systems can now hop on a platform like ours and build something like a chatbot they embed on their website or some type of agentic system that solves a real acute pain point for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I agree. The community is just such a great place to start. Like Prajakta mentioned, people are very nice. They're very friendly, very approachable in this space. They want to share the thing that they just tried and they just learned. And Justin, yeah, I can't agree more. Just get your hands on the stuff that you want to be good at. And then when you're stuck, use more Gen AI to try to get unstuck. We have a question here in the audience from Greg. It's a big question, okay? So do you see that what you do, some of your processes like data collection, planning, execution, can this be accomplished through AI agents that are trained on your processes? Now, before we answer that question from Greg, let's take a quick step back and just tell the audience what is an AI agent, and then we can address the question.
Okay, I would say that everyone has their own definition, and this is a problem that you always encounter with new waves of technology, but I'll at least kick us off here and explain what I think about when folks reference an agent. It really is the idea that you can leverage a language model or enhance a language model, I should say, to leverage tools. So I think about it almost like providing a tool belt or a toolkit to a worker. And the language model is actually smart enough to understand when and how it should leverage different tools. So a really simple example could be actually booking an appointment. Typically, if you're on a website like ChatGPT using one of their models, it doesn't have the ability to perform actions on your behalf. So you can equip it with what's called function or tool calling. You can compose or author a tool to book appointments. You would write in natural language how that process works. And then next time you ask a question, if the language model decides that it makes sense or it's appropriate to call that tool, it'll actually structure that for you. So it's going to automate the whole process. And effectively, everything is orchestrated through natural language. That's the big unlock. I don't know if
Thank
Kate
you
or
for that. Prajakta, did you want to add something?
No, Justin really explained it well. To answer the question though, like all the different things that were mentioned there, I think it was data prep and I can't see the question now, but I think
yes,
you can
make. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Data collecting. I think the planning and execution is what Justin is saying the model can do once it has the tools, but you need to kind of give it tools or make those tools available that model can then call. So like all of this should be possible to build as tools that are available to agents.
And that's a great point too, because everyone is talking about AI agents. They're the hot new topic. I think that here at DataRobot, we're thinking about them a bit differently. And I'd also venture to say a bit more practically as well. So Prajakta just mentioned, yes, of course, there's the process automation, but all of that begins with a good, strong foundation. Where is the data cleaning? So what we're trying to do is build that first layer out and actually work on investing in the tool set as well, not just the agents. And these tools could be ones that go and query the right data set. How do you do that safely? How do you do that with the right permissions? How do you make sure you're grabbing the right data set at the right time? And then a lot of the data prep that you need as well. So it's equally important, if not more important, to have the right tool set or toolkit available to the agents as it is to have an optimal agent or language model.
Right. And it seems like there's just so much that goes into using these models, building these models. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that it actually does take people that long, 7.5 months on average to get a model into production. I think the conversation we had here was extremely helpful for me to just understand where DataRobot is, and congratulations again on this new big announcement. For folks who are trying to either learn more about what DataRobot can do, how they can get help. There's a question here, like even how to get started in learning some of this stuff. Maybe you can share some resources, and as you talk about it, I'll share some links in the chat as well for the survey, some other things that we talked about. But where can people go to learn more, to get a demo, to get a meeting, or to just simply learn what you guys are working on?
So our new website, the one that we got a short preview just as we got started, we actually have some product tools on the website itself. So you can get a quick sneak peek into, what are the different capabilities on our platform, what are the different apps available through our website. You can also book a demo with us, and we can really, do a more customized, personalized sort of demo for you, given your use cases and your needs. We have a trial as well, so you can sign up and try out our product if you want to try it out yourself. And then we have a lot of helpful content for specific industries, use cases on our website.
Amazing.
I'm really biased here, Kate, too. So what I would say is my team helps actually run some of these customized demos and pilots. If anyone has a use case in mind, we would absolutely love to talk through it with them and then even customize something just so it better resonates. So definitely reach out, website. And then, of course, we have a YouTube channel as well, and my team publishes a lot of content there. So please check that out.
Yeah, I think YouTube is just so fantastic for actually seeing some of the demos of how the thing works in action. If you're not ready for the in-person or Zoom or whatever you guys use demo yet, you can definitely look at some of those videos. And Prajakta, I love the trial option. It speaks to what Justin said about just getting your hands on there. So if you got a trial that you can play around with, I encourage you to do so. So again, Prajakta, Justin, DataRobot, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the audience for joining us. And yeah, stay DataCated. We'll see everybody online. Thank you again for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. This was great.